that's unheard of. You know what I'm saying? Especially in this world where all the manufacturers used to compete with each other, and it's like, my IP, my contracts, my da-da-da. Now we're saying, yo, this ain't what we do. Kick those walls down. Let's share. Let's collaborate. Let's really build this thing, and let's build a community, and we're better for it. You know what I'm saying?
Totally. I mean, it's not a sum-zero game. And
Yes.
And I feel like it's pretty fascinating. Like I've been meeting so many of our customers over here.
Yeah.
And when the two of them chat, they're like, "Oh my gosh, you gotta come!" And it's so funny. We talk about Amper for 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And then they pivot to culture, which is so interesting.
Yes. No, I love it. And I think that's the residual effects again of our generation, right? And the more that we get out here, we push our technology, we push our ideals and the things that we're cool with, then, they have no choice but to listen and but to follow,
Yeah.
So I'm blessed to be in our field, especially right now. Like, this is an amazing time.
This is the Renaissance,
yeah,
right?
it's the Renaissance. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, man.
Tell me about just the origins of your organization. Like, when were you like, I'm gonna start this thing, man?
Yeah, no. So I was I got into manufacturing. I was a 2-time felon and a father. I had 2 kids by the time I was 18 and 4 felonies. And I just felt like, the world wasn't built for people like me, you know what I'm saying? And somebody gave me an aptitude test while I was locked up, scored crazy high mental levels, and they ended up sponsoring me to go to MIT. And, I learned about manufacturing. I learned about all this different stuff. Got a hell of an education.
Yeah.
Got into the field, and, I pretty much worked every job in manufacturing, and then became a professor. I was a professor for the past 4 years, teaching CAD/CAM and digital design, engineering, and stuff like that. And from my years of working and then my years of teaching, I just saw that there was a huge void as far as getting kids in seats and getting them into our field, right? And preparing them to be able to be successful in our field. So after, battling with the college to do more, and then battling, with them to get better machines and different things like that, and, coming up short, I was just like, I gotta do something, so I got out here by myself.
Yeah, no, I think that's the way, and I think the voice that you can have is going to be the purest and the truest to yourself
100%.
When you're independent, and you can have the latitude to do that.
Yes, and to be honest, and you're an entrepreneur, you're a CEO of a startup, it's scary as hell. You know what I'm saying?
It really is.
And especially a tour where I tell our antiquated industry that I'm gonna go focus on the people that you guys have purposely let out. You know what I'm saying? Like women, black and brown people, Asian people, and really stand on that and swing that flag. It was hard, and it's still hard today because we've got a community, we've got the things that we're building, but my LinkedIn messengers are a bunch of N words, bunch of F words,
Really?
bunch of still,
Oh my gosh.
So, but it's a good battle, and it's the work that I feel like if I don't do it, who's gonna do it? You know what I'm saying?
And it gives other folks kind of in a way the confidence to put themselves out there.
Absolutely, man. And that's what we need when we are able to be transparent about, who we are, what we need, what our passions are. I think that we can be served better, and we can help serve other people better.
It's not a life worth living if you can't be authentic and who you are. I feel like that's such a weight to kind of conform, and
1,000%.
I think that's where kudos to you, starting your own company and your own organization. I feel like I really feel like timing is everything.
Timing is everything, man. And I think that I began to step out on my own and make a name for myself and really speak out about these things at the perfect time where the industry has a need still with they need a bunch of people really bad. The world is changing and it's looking more diverse, obviously. So these two needs collided, and there was nobody in this space that was doing the work that I do and speaking the way that I speak. And then I think at the same time, like obviously I got goals, and I can't take these out, so people are forced to deal with their stereotypes like immediately, and even if they don't come to the realization that, maybe the things that they prejudged me on or prejudged people on are wrong, they'll still have to like have that thought like, damn, this dude has a mouthful of gold and he's keynoting like IMTS, you know what I'm saying? And the things that I talk about, like I've got substance. It's not fluff. It's not food.
No, and it's built on facts and
yes,
your experience.
Yes,
yeah, it's not just some random buzzwords
right.
just like pulled from the internet. So
right.
Just the depth. I actually have a question for you. Like, what has been the most exciting moments running your organization?
The most exciting moment is actually from when I was a professor to now. Students that are graduating, that graduated my programs, working for Honeywell and working for, these big corporations. These are kids that were like, yo, Mr. Crowe, if you can get me $15 an hour, I'll be good. And, their first job at Honeywell is 36, and it's like, not only am I watching this kid's life change, but they bought in, they believed it, and they're getting the return on their own time investment, you know what I'm saying? And it's beautiful. I had a kid that graduated high school early to join my program. He joined my program, and on the first day, he was like, I like knives. He likes ballad songs. He does
oh, really?
Knife
yeah.
flipping and stuff like that.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and I showed him. I'm like, look, dude, you can make these. Like, what do you like
it's a
about
huge
this?
industry, actually.
Absolutely. So, and I didn't even know that, but I just knew that, that's where I meet kids at. Like, we're in manufacturing. So whatever it is that you do like, whatever, you are, connected to, let me show you how you can use your job to fuel your hobby, right? And so together, when I taught him Mastercam, I taught him how to make ballad songs, and he took off and he started making them. He started Instagram, and now he makes $15,000 a month selling custom knives on
You're
Instagram.
kidding.
Yeah. So
Damn.
those types of stories help me sleep at night. You know what I'm saying? And and it just, it validates what, I'm doing, and it just really, further pushes the narrative that, this is for everybody, and you can get out of this field what you want. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's kind of amazing. So one of my friends and customers, actually, JT, he runs this company called DFM Toolworks. Okay. I don't know if you've come across him, but he worked at Toyota way back in the day, and had a really unique career from there, machine shops and everything. And in the last 2 years, he started a company that basically designs their own products for the woodworking industry, like hammers and all kinds of other things.
Yeah.
He makes it from scratch in Chicago, in the West Side, and sells it on e-commerce. And it's a full-on business. It's got 3 CNCs, and it's they're doing so well. I was just over there last week, and
the cool thing is, and again, this is the advantage of I think our generation and under, is we figured out what I call digital dollars, right?
Yeah.
And that is another disconnect that these older people in advanced manufacturing can't all the way grasp. And it's like, yo, we know e-commerce. We know how to take a product and market it online for not a lot of money and find our customers and let our customers find us, right? And so we've got a different business model that we're used to. We're used to buying online. We're used to shopping online. And, some of these people are still knocking on doors asking for work or asking, to buy their products, right? And it's antiquated.
Absolutely.
And we come in the game with the idea of, okay, I can build this brand digitally. If it's bad, I can pivot to making another product, you know what I'm saying? And that's how we, just came up. And I think that that's important, especially for this old industry, to get into digital sales, get into e-commerce, and we're the people that know it the best, So it's super dope.
I couldn't agree more. And I totally credit Jacob and Abby from my team.
Yeah.
They have completely leveled up Amber's brand. And I think it's, to be honest, when I started the business, I felt like I really had to follow a lot of the rules, stick within the lines, and
now you're making your own. That's
exactly
amazing.
Again, I can't take the credit for it, but it's folks on my team.
Strong team.
Yeah, I'm sure you're tired of hearing manufacturers say like, "Oh, the skills shortage," and
Yeah.
like I'm sure every podcast you're on, like you just like keep hearing that. And we did a survey just to kind of make sure that we're not crazy, and it is the exact same thing, which is like everyone's like, "We can't hire, we can't hire," and I guess like what do you think is really driving that, and like how would you give it more nuance? Because that is too much of a high level statement.
Well, I think that number one, they've got the wrong angle because there's a bunch of people from millennials and down that are looking for work, that want to work, and A, they're just not aware of our industry, and B, they're not aware of what we do inside of here. So I think that there has to be a rebrand, number one, for us to show that obviously manufacturing is sexy and it's sustainable and it's viable, right? And I think that when people first think of manufacturing, they're thinking of the 3Ds, the old, dark, dirty, dangerous, right? And we're so far removed from that in the real world, but in people's mind, in their mental real estate, we're still there, right? So they're not telling their kids that this is a field that you should get into, or kids aren't even looking at this field as a field, right? So I think that once we can start doing more stuff like this and being visible and putting out content where they are and where they're ready to consume it, then we can start to show our field in the real way that it is, and we'll change that a little bit. But you're right, there is a real skills gap, a real job gap, and we'll have I think like 200 kids here this afternoon, and I'm gonna do a thing with or whatever, and that's where it starts.
Okay, let's get a little bit more specific. So let's say let's say you have a machine shop with 25 Swiss machines, a couple of vertical milling centers.
Yeah.
You make hydraulic components or whatever, and you're having a tough time filling a role, whether it's machinist or any other role.
Yeah.
What do you actually do? Is it just a brand new website? Is it more content? Like, give me specifics.
Yeah, no. So you got to invite people in, right? And if it's physical, open your doors, get out to the high schools, get out to the middle schools. If you got to rent a bus and send it out there and get the kids in, number one, the people aren't coming to our trade on their own. So we've got to bring our trade to the people, right? And so physically or digitally, and I think that there should be a two-handed method where, we're showing our shops in person, but then we're also showing our shops,
out there, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And once people can put eyes on what it is that we do, and the fact that it's local and it's close and they can get in, then I think we'll start to turn that thing around. But if you think about every other industry, it's way more visible and it's way more accessible than ours has been, right? So, if a kid wants to start working right now, what is that kid's options? They've got, maybe retail, food and beverage, or they've got Uber Eats, and they've got, the gig economy, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what they're used to. So if they do come into an industry that they're unfamiliar with, or they, get here and they start dealing with some of the things that, the younger generation has to deal with, they'll easily turn on their Lyft or their Uber and they'll get out of there. You know what I'm saying? So for the first time, we're dealing with a new sector that has never been here before, and we're trying to apply old methods to a new world, right?
Yeah.
And, that's the people's mindset. Oh, they don't want to work, they don't want to do this, they don't want to do that, but they have alternatives that are more complementary to their skill sets and the way that they want to live, so they'll take it, right?
Yeah.
So I think that, we've got to make it easier and more accessible for people that can get into this industry to get in.
Yeah.
And then we have to look at our business models and say, are we really serving our clients and our customers, the way that every other industry has been and that they're used to,
Absolutely. So, retraining and redirecting existing folks on your team is also such an important lever.
Yes.
And there's robotics, obviously. There's technologies like Amper. From what you're seeing on the ground, what are some of the jobs that are in the decline, and conversely, what are some jobs that are growing in,
Man, that's an amazing question. So I think that in our industry, the things that are in the decline are the older, more labor-intensive things. If you're not in this society, in this world right now, if you're not born into wealth, then your body is your capital, right? And you literally can only make what you can exchange your physical body for monetarily, right? But with the influx of technology, like Amper with automation with robotics, now we can say my body's not my capital, but my mind is. So
Absolutely.
we have, positions that I feel like are being phased out, but then we also have positions that are being created now because of these new technologies and things that we didn't see coming before, right? So I was in San Francisco doing a symposium on automation and robotics, and that was one of the things that we talked about. They talked about a guy named Mr. Fu that had been in manufacturing for like 25 years, and he ran like 5 different machines, and he was like hunched over and different stuff like that. And then they brought in the iPad, and they brought in data monitoring, and they brought in cobots and robots. And now Mr. Fu works on the same 4 machines, but he works from an iPad, right?
That's amazing.
And so we're not only bringing more people in and helping them work longer, but we're extending the life of the legacy people that have been here and giving them new positions that they wouldn't have been able to continue working on for a long time. So what I'm seeing is people staying in the industry a lot longer than they had. We've got, like, for the first time, 5 generations in the shop at the same time, from traditionalists all the way down to what I call the screenagers, right? And with the use of technology, it's the bridge that allows them to communicate to each other and to machines. So we're sharing that knowledge, we're spreading it, and we're digitizing it, and then we're allowing people to be able to use their minds instead of their bodies, to exchange capital. And I think that it's helping our industry, but it's also helping the world as a whole.
Yeah, no, it's a pretty tough economic climate for a lot of folks, right? Like, you've got a mixed economy. Some parts are doing really well, some parts aren't. And I think it's just so important to, identify what your identity is as a business. I was reading this book, Atomic Habits, where all the things that you do stem from what your identity is. If you don't have that triangulated, so I think this is such a unique opportunity where you can be a company where you're one team. Often when it comes to like deploying something like Amper, there's a notion that this is like shop floor technology. That's a different thing.
Yes.
And it's like, and to me it's wild how machinists don't get their own computers, right? Like and I'm like, you know what? Everyone needs like a co-pilot to help them with their day-to-day.
Yes. And back to the workforce thing, as I was teaching kids, I was training kids, and I'm sending them out into the field, there'd be kids that say, I want to work in aerospace, I want to work in these, different, sectors, and I'd get them, a position in that sector, and they'd come back after their internship, and they'd be like, oh, I'm not really excited anymore, and it's like, I set you up with the exact job that you were looking for. What is it? And, they'd be like, oh, we have to pass paper around. When jobs come out, our blueprint is paper, our measurement is paper, our travelers are paper, and I would get a print from someone else, and I couldn't read their handwriting. Or, my handwriting, my ones look like a 7 to somebody, and I would get yelled at every single day because of this writing, right? And it's like, there's they know, they go to school with iPads, they, learn on, digital things, and that's what they expect. So, we have kids that are making $35 an hour that are walking away from $35 an hour because they have to pass around paper and because it's antiquated, and their job literally depends on that. But again, what does it cost to get an iPad? You know what I'm saying? Like,
really,
in the long run, your return on investment is retaining workers and bringing a new generation in, and something as small as that, digital versus, writing it all down and then I guess digitizing it later on down the line is keeping people from working at your shop, So I think that once we start, really inviting IoT, Industry 4.0, automation, all these different things, then we'll be able to take a better swing at, A, the industry as a whole, and then B, getting the youth involved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. It's been working with our customers, everything from signage to furniture to components that go into any of these devices. Everything that we do is touched by manufacturing.
Yes.
I have a question for you. So it defines everything that we do, a quality of life. But for you, why is manufacturing sexy?
Oh, man, great question. Well, number one, manufacturing for me is sexy because it saved my life. It actually gave me an opportunity to be sexy myself, if that makes sense, right? So, growing up, I never had things like, benefits. We didn't go to the dentist. We didn't go to the eye doctor or anything like that. And, at every job that I worked in manufacturing came with super decent benefits. So my kids, got to do the things that I didn't get to do through this opportunity. Another thing is, you said it yourself, everything you ride, fly in, touch, wear, everything has been touched by our industry, right? So you can literally choose what you want to do within our industry and work in the industry that you like, right? So I've got kids that are 3D designing for Nike, right? Because they're into shoes.
So cool.
I got a kid that came into my program that he was like, I just love roller coasters, and now he works at Six Flags and he does the different parts for the roller coasters and the different machines like that.
That's
and
so cool.
Where else could you do that? So it's sexy in that regards, and then it's getting sexier because it's getting more accessible to people, right? And I think that the further that we go on and as years come, everybody's going to be a maker in some way or form, right? Etsy blew up. Amazon blew up. All these digital spaces are, the biggest things in our world. Even during the pandemic, when people didn't have money, they were still consuming, and we're consumers. So the more that we're able to take ideas and make products, the more that people are going to jump in. And then as we're seeing here at this show, this technology is becoming more and more affordable, which is making it more and more accessible. And I think that, 3D printers are going to be like microwaves where everyone has them,
Seriously.
And, if I need, it's going to be sustainable. If I need, silverware to eat on or plates to eat on, I'm not going to keep a cabinet full of these things.
Oh my gosh,
I'm going to go print one real quick, right? Or if I want some new shoes or something, I'll just upload. I'll take a picture with my foot with my phone.
Scan it out.
Scan it out, exactly, and say, hey, I need a shoe for basketball, or I need a shoe to go out tonight. And you can go to a digital mall, pick which one you like, and then print it while you're in the shower, get out of there, and the shoe literally fits to your foot like nothing else, right? And I think that, this is the things that we're seeing, and nothing's more sexier than that to me. And we've got the opportunity to, really redefine what manufacturing is, and we're doing it every day. So it's an amazing time to be in the industry for sure.
If there's anything we know, people are going to want more choice, like all of us desire. Secondly, people want it fast.
Yes,
we live in the new Amazon economy, and you want it cheap.
Yes, absolutely.
And the only way you could do that is by shortening the length of a supply chain.
Right.
I was at a furniture manufacturing plant in 2018, and this company fully changed the way they ran. So they were running 3 models, making cabinets on 3 lines. And within a year, they had to change from going from 3-4 SKUs to 150 SKUs.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And it went from low mix, high volume to high mix, low volume. And I think that's going to be, to your vision, it's that's exactly the future is.
That's where we're going. That's where we're going for sure.
Okay, so you probably speak with hundreds of leaders a month, right?
Yeah,
Easily.
yeah,
And from your lens, what are some of the qualities or traits that you've seen that really define the winners?
So lately, I would say it's being open to change and being able to pivot and adapt. Some of the new things that are happening, right? And I'm watching the shops that are really having success, and the leaders that are having success are trying new things, and they're saying, hey, Industry 4.0, all of these, robotics, automation, all these different things are here. How can I apply them to my business model to expand it, right? But the ones that are saying, I'm not going to adapt it, or I'm going to fight against this thing, or I'm going to, go the opposite way, they're the people that are, dying a slow death. And we can't really afford too much of that to happen.
No.
So I think the adapters, the innovators, the people that are willing to pivot, the people that are willing to change or update, old antiquated business models are the people that are, having the most success in hiring, in, getting customers, acquisition, all of that stuff, because they're able to change their business models, they're able to pivot, they're able to grow, with the industry and with the world at the same time.
Yeah. So, if you're a manufacturer that's looking to go from whiteboards, pen and paper, all these manual ways to understanding your business in real time, whether it's how your jobs are flowing through your plant, how your machines are performing, how your people are performing, before you really implement any technology, what cultural foundation do you think people should set up where it's easily adopted?
Great question. I think that the culture is the first foundation that you build a house on, right? Because when we start bringing these types of technologies into shops, if you don't have the culture of, I'm valued as a worker, then you think that these things are going to take your position, or you think that these things are going to phase you out as an employee. But when you build the culture of, people first and people matter, then they start seeing these things as an enhancement to their job, right? And I think that if you don't show the people that they matter more than the profits, then the people will see these things as, oh my God, this robot's taking my job. This data collection is going to phase me out, right? And when you put the people first, they feel like, this person just wants me to be able to be the best worker that I can be.
What does putting people first look like? Because I'm just really trying to get specific.
Yeah.
It all sounds great at the surface level, but how do you make it real? Like, how do you... Yeah.
So putting people first, we're looking at, vacation time. We're looking at, 12-hour shifts aren't 12-hour shifts anymore. We're looking at our business models and saying, can this person do this from home maybe for 2 days out of the week? And we really see what the feedback of the people that are on the floor and the pulse of our, our job and our economy are saying, right? So number one, you've got to have open communication with the people that are doing the bulk of the work, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't have that transparency and that open communication, then you can't have insight into what their needs are, right? And then if you also don't have a culture that says it's okay for you to tell me when things are good or when things are bad, then you really, as a CEO, you don't have the insight into what's happening on the shop floor, because it's a big disconnect from the office to the floor, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And a lot of times, especially in our culture and Western culture, is we try to hide problems because we think that there's an issue behind that. So if the boss comes and says, yo, how are things going? Oh, it's all good, boss, but something's burning behind you, right? But if we've got the mindset of, I can tell this person exactly what's going on. Hey, these inserts aren't any good. We should get, carbide, or we should try different coating, or we should run our speeds and feeds different. If you've got the opportunity to have that voice without being drowned out, or without, there being something behind that, then you can really give a full answer. And then the CEO can take that information and say, hey, we need to shop better. We need to get them better tools and equipment to do their job, right? And so that's where it starts. It starts with the transparency on a two-way street. It starts with, making workers feel like that they're the most important thing in this shop. And once you start building that, it's much easier to adapt these technologies and integrate them into, your daily flow.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. I mean, with Amper, we're able to point out to where the bottlenecks are. I think the best companies use that as a funnel generation of how they can support the shop floor.
Yes.
And, when you see let's say the reason machine is down is because someone's waiting on quality, or, a tool is missing, instead of just being like, all right, cool, I know how to slap people on the wrist, it's like, well, should we be buying more tools?
How can I empower this person to make sure that this is going? And I think that another important thing is there's a lot of, when you think about updating your company and getting into some of this IoT and Industry 4.0 stuff, it's daunting, right? It's like, where do I start? How do I start? Even if I bring automation and robots in, what processes do I automate first or period, right? And if you're working with companies that are passionate about removing barriers and getting people, up to speed, like you guys clip it onto the machine and in 15 minutes it's up and running, right?
Yeah.
That's insane. So when we take the fear out of some of these things, we can start educating people on the best practices and the best use, and we can make it less scary, right?
Absolutely.
And age-old adage, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, right? So we're looking at an elephant and we're like, oh my God, how do I do this? But if we do one bite at a time, if we, start digitizing and doing a piece by piece and slowly doing this thing, or working with companies that can give you a full solution, then it looks a whole lot less daunting. And once you start, then you can start to identify on your own, this is another area, because you see it working in real time, right? So,
Exactly.
these processes are the ones that I'm getting the most ROI out of from automating, right? So these processes are a little bit like those processes. Let's go there next. And I think that there's got to be a piece by piece aspect right now, and help people come along step by step.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think, so I grew up in manufacturing. My dad still today runs an auto component plant. So, and I think it's just like so scary to like implement these technologies, because most manufacturers don't have like software engineers sitting around waiting to like implement technology.
Right. Yes.
So, and the last thing you want to do is set something up to fail because you don't have the resources, the team ready to like implement something really big. And there's this thing which is the future is here. It's just not equally distributed.
Yes.
And,
I love that.
Yeah. And so, some plants, if you go to like an Intel factory, you're probably going to see every single thing instrumented. It's like working in the future.
Yeah.
And I think that's been a lot of the genesis with Amper is, giving folks the ability to do a free trial, for example. Like, it cuts the barrier to seeing it, touching it, feeling it, and knowing for yourself what you can do with it.
And I think that that's where we've got to be, especially right now. We've got to make it easy for people to be able to use these things, and then also we've got to show shops that if you want to compete on a global scale, because it's really what it is. Manufacturing is the heavyweight division of the world, right? And this is the biggest thing of the biggest things, and we are not going to be able to compete against other, global manufacturing companies unless we start doing these types of things, right? We're not going to be able to compete machines. We can buy all the same machines. We can get, metal for the same amount of money. And we can get, cutting tools. We can all buy the same things.
Yeah.
But where our margins open up and where we begin to be able to compete and, win jobs and get RFQs is the people. If the people are able to have less downtime, if the people are able to, be empowered via data or via, using their voice and all those different things, then we can begin to open our margins because we don't have as much downtime. We don't have as many scrap parts. We don't have, all the things that are keeping us from getting a part from raw material to a finished part to out of the door, right? So once we're able to empower more workers and we're able to, use our human capital better and more efficiently, then we're going to be able to bring American manufacturing back in a huge way. It's the Renaissance, right?
I know, right? Exactly. There you go. I grew up in India until like 10 years. I mean, I was living in India until 10 years ago.
Wow,
so
okay.
Yeah, I grew up all of my life over there. Came to the U.S. for college, and it's just like, being in the industry, I just feel so bullish because, folks are willing to take action. And I think, I think while there's certainly a lot of distance to go in from where we are, I think the mindset for a lot of folks in manufacturing is it's full of passion. Like, you walk around the shop floor, everything you see around you is a work of passion.
Yes.
Every product you see is a work of passion.
1,000%.
So I'm really optimistic. I think it's going to take, we have to do the work.
Yeah.
But I just think the foundation, the macro picture, and the tailwinds of reshoring, it's all there. I agree
100%. And I also feel like, the things that we're doing right now, we're changing it. We're rewriting American manufacturing as we go, right?
Yeah.
And it's beautiful to see, people like you that are leading the charge, people like me that are leading the charge,
Absolutely.
Right? And, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, it wouldn't have been the case, right? So I think that we're the pulse, we're the heartbeat, and if people aren't listening and tuning in, then their heartbeat doesn't keep going. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And it's great to see the changes in the real effects of what we're doing in real time. So I'm glad we got you.
No, likewise. No, I'm so excited for what's ahead for obviously for Amber, but for your organization, obviously. It's going to be an exciting journey.
It is.
So excited to collaborate with you as well.
I'm glad to be here with you
Yeah.
as well, my friend, and on that front line, united and waving the flag for change and for innovation.
There we go.
Thank you, my man.